Every lesson is a lyric in the universal song. Oh, the lessons of the journey, I'll weave them in my song.
Hello and welcome to Lessons of the Journey, where we discuss the shit we actually needed to learn in school. With Coach Jen and Coach Nicole.
Thank you, everybody, for spending some time with us today. This is going to be a passionate one. We can tell you that. Our theme today, our topic is menopause and perimenopause. So get ready for all the good stuff. Coach Nicole, shall we define menopause as though it needs a definition?
Yes, we absolutely will. But I want to give a trigger warning. Today's probably going to be full of expletives and some topics of discussion that might not be so pretty. So we warned you. Definition of menopause.
We warned you.
Very simply put by Google, the ceasing of menstruation. First of all, fuck you, Google. It's not just an ending, y'all. It's also a beginning. And I'm so sick and tired of the lack of transition being acknowledged when it comes to menopause. It's just the end. Jen, it's the end for us. We're done. Not yet.
Yeah,
neither one of us, but we're in it.
Shrivel up, cease to exist. You no longer provide value to the world. You might as well just go jump off a cliff. You are the ending of all that the world ever needed of you. So just go. Just be done. I hear you. You know what I found really ironically disgusting was that when I was looking up the definition, and I use dictionary.com, we know that. This is what dictionary.com said to me when I looked up menopause. It said, no results found. No results found. What the actual fuck? Are you kidding me? No results found. Now, there was a definition for perimenopause, and it was equally stupid. It is a noun. It is the period leading up to, and it actually says this, the period leading up to the menopause, during which some of the symptoms associated with menopause may be experienced. So let's just get this out of the way. Nicole, have you experienced menopause?
Well, technically no, but I'm in that fucking perimenopause bullshit right now. So let's talk about symptoms because, okay, I did Google how many symptoms of menopause are there? By the way, Google says 35 plus, but Coach Jen, I have an app and it listed over 70 symptoms, which blows my mind. Over 70 freaking potential symptoms. Does it mean everybody's going to have all of them? No. Does it mean some people are going to have none of them? Absolutely. Does it mean some of us are going to have some of them? Yes. There are some weird shit.
Does that lead to you thinking at all that experiencing a portion of 70 plus symptoms might make you feel a little fucking crazy? Just a little bit? Just a little bit? Might it make you act not, quote, normal on any given basis?
Okay, Coach Jen, we're not going to even say little crazy. I was fucking batshit like 9 months ago. Batshit crazy.
Oh my goodness.
When we're talking about symptoms, and we're going to go through some of the symptoms, we're going to talk about some of the frustrations of women in menopause or perimenopause. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Mary Claire Haver. Coach Jen and I have talked a lot about her. You are fantastic. We love, 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 love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are the front lines and we adore you and we both listen to you and follow you. And I buy your products because I know they're going to be good quality. And I just think she's amazing. Coach Jen, is there anything you want to go into right now?
Well, let's give some context because I can tell you that I started perimenopause or the symptoms of such about a year ago, just real close to about a year ago, right around now. And so I would say that I am a year in to understanding what the fuck is happening inside of my body. And here's what I was told by my gynecologist. When I said, hey, yeah, I've had some wonky periods, right? I get my annual. It's usually in December. She goes, oh, interesting. Okay, how old are you? She looks at my chart. She goes, 42. Oh, you're perimenopause. No further conversation. Not, oh, what's going on? Oh, is there extra stress? Oh, nothing. Age, funny periods, you're perimenopause. Done. That's my call. That's exactly how that went. And I went, okay, so what does this mean for me? And she said, well, it's going to be fun. For the next 7 to 10 years, you're going to be off your fucking rocker. And I went, this is the sickest joke that I've ever heard in all of life. It's a sick fucking joke is what it is. 7 to 10 years. And I started around 42. And so where are you at, Coach Nicole?
Well, okay. You started at 42. How old are you right now, Coach Jen?
43.
You're 43 right now. Okay. So you and I are 10 years apart. I am actually 53. I started at 52 and I was about 52 and a half. It was the end of last year, 2023. And I had a very interesting experience because I started going just literally batshit nuts. And I remember my husband saying to me, can you forewarn me when you're gonna, he's put it really nice, but can you forewarn me when you're gonna go batshit crazy? And I was like, I don't fucking know when I'm gonna go batshit crazy. If I knew when I was gonna go batshit crazy, I wouldn't go batshit crazy. And my husband was just like, okay. So I actually had an experience where I ran away from my family. I literally like threw a burrito at a window and I ran away. They were searching for me for like an hour and a half. I couldn't get the right food.
I threw a burrito at a window
and ran away in this town, about 45 minutes from my house. Went to the restaurant that I wanted to eat at in the first fucking place. If these people had just eaten where I wanted. My whole family's there. Like both of my sons are there. My dad's there. My husband, daughter-in-law, children, like everybody's there. And Gigi's having a fucking shit fit. So I run away. I go eat where I want to eat. I walk like miles to get to this restaurant. I sit down, I have food. I'm feeling better. My husband's texting me. He's like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. Where are you? Blah, blah, blah. So I have this whole incident. Right? The family's like, what the fuck is happening? So anyway, this all happens. I share this information with a friend and she looks at me and goes, girl, you got to get on the hormones. She knows me well. She's a very good friend of mine. And she's like, you got to talk to the right doctor. So I went to the right doctor. By the way, a male. Yes. I'm impressed that he knew what the hell was going on. He'd read the books. He was informed. So even though it wasn't female, which would have been my preference had I realized the experience that I was going through, but he knew his stuff. So I had a great guy. In the meantime, I got on the hormones. He's really good about, I want you in optimal health. And he was really good explaining to me, like, we can do your blood work, but it changes day to day. Like you're in perimenopause. It's kind of like no man's land. It's this weird space of, we don't really know. So you have to go by how you're feeling and share with me how you're feeling. He wanted to do the pellets in your butt, whatever, wherever they put them. And you're like, I was like, oh, no. Miscontrolling with like the daily doses so I can adjust shit as needed. Like, yeah. I'm like, you ain't shooting nothing in my eye. I will take the daily doses and it's like, hey, you could take a little more of this. You could take this. I'll call him and go, hey, I do need the estradiol. I need this, whatever. He'll work with me. And it's been fantastic. And I have to tell you, I feel like I'm a totally different person. I'm going to share with you something about my story though, Coach Jen. So I'm 53.
Okay.
After I got normal, what I call normal, like not that shit crazy. I went and I looked at my mother's experience. My mother committed suicide and it turns out she committed suicide at 52 and a half years old. And I thoroughly and completely believe, and my mother was a mess mentally. And I would definitely say, I think that she committed suicide because of menopause. I do believe she's a menopause suicide. Now she had past mental illness. She was also a horrid mother. There were so many issues. But the bottom line is I'm fully now convinced that she was going through menopause and didn't have the access to the things that we do. So when someone says to me, you shouldn't be on hormones, those aren't good for you, I'm like, go fuck yourself. You don't know my journey.
That's been debunked.
Yes, it has.
Been debunked.
Yes,
that was a thing
has.
In the past, and it has been debunked over and over and over. So if you are working with a doctor who is telling you that you maybe need to see a psychiatrist because you're in the normal range, which is what we hear from women so often. Oh, we did the blood test. You're in the normal range. Fuck the normal range. Whatever normal is doesn't exist. It's this arbitrary, made up circumstance of value. Please trust yourself. God, if anybody taught us anything, it's please trust yourself. You know what, quote, normal looks like for you. If that is what you're experiencing is not, quote, normal for you, find somebody that believes you. I promise you there are doctors. You start opening this conversation with friends, with mentors, somebody will share with you who to go to because so many doctors out there are still so uneducated about this topic. My doctor told me the same thing. I said, oh, I was going to go get a blood test, just to make sure. And she said, don't do that. It's a waste of a blood test. She said, all it's going to do is show you what it looks like on that day. And in perimenopause, just to your point, Coach Nicole, changes daily, changes regularly. That blood test isn't going to tell you anything. And if you don't have a great doctor who knows that, they're going to assess the wrong way, and it's not going to serve you. And I believe her, so I didn't get the blood test, and we're just feeling it out. We're just living the life.
I same experience. It's in the moment, and you have to really go by how you feel. And what honestly is surprising me is it's so important that we have our tribe through this experience. And yet other women don't even get that we could be going through these experiences as well.
Yeah. I've commented before on different shows that we've had that I do believe the level of consciousness of all of society is being raised. I've chatted with my mom about her experience, and my mother still calls menopause the change of life, as though it's this. And it is. I understand that it's, you were saying at the top of the show that it's not just the ending of something, it's the start of something completely new. So it really is a huge change in life. And even dictionary.com called it the menopause, right? And so the idea that it's different for everybody, but that my mother, who is 73 years old, didn't have access to the resources or wasn't able to, in her life with her mother, able to have these conversations, able to learn about what the experience was, able to just be open and honest about what to expect. And I think that's such a big bummer not to know what to look for and to really forget that this is something that half of the population of the world will go through, have gone through, or will go through in life, and that it is not studied. It sickens me, actually, that all studies have been done on men up to a certain point. Like recently, did you know, Coach Nicole, this blew my fucking mind. And it just is in line with why we don't know what we don't know about menopause, perimenopause. You know those like tampon or pad commercials on television that you see where they pour that watery red liquid in to show you what, like, that was used for testing menstrual products all the way up until August of 2023.
Christ.
They did not use real menstrual blood to test menstrual products. Let that sink in as to how dismissed and I would not stand up and call myself a feminist at all. I will tell you though, that we have been set aside as far as who we are, how we are, and all of the things for way too long. August of 2023, women have been bleeding for all of history. Just women in general have been dismissed as far as, like I said, who we are, what we are, how we are. And it is about fucking time in history that we are acknowledged as not small men.
I agree with you, Coach Jen, and that does irritate me, but I will tell you what even irritates me more. It is when women, females, other females, not doctors, just women in general, do not acknowledge that menstrual periods are a spectrum, and some of us have them very extreme and some of us have them very light. I don't know about you, Coach Jen, but I always had very extreme periods. How many days do you generally bleed when you're having a regular period?
Oh gosh, it's changed so much over the course of my life. Since I've had children, let's talk about that too. Now at 43 years old, I'm finally back kind of on a regular thing, only because I was put back on birth control 2 months ago. 2 months ago, I was off of it for 10 years because of this old information that said, don't be on birth control this long because it's bad for you. Did all of the things, all of the old information, life experience and all of that. But 10 years I was off of it. And 2 months ago, I went back on birth control. And so 2 months in, I have a 6-day, what I would call normal, not extreme, no serious, right? About a 6-day bleed.
Okay. And have you known women who have those like 3 and 4 day periods? They have really small periods. They don't bleed much.
Used to be me.
Okay.
Used to be me.
And do you know women who bleed for like 10 days and they literally have to take iron because so much blood is leaving their body?
Yes. And how extreme the pain is. I know those women too. Let me Let me tell you a story that I tell all of my friends, and I will caveat this with saying my mother is an amazing human and I wouldn't have turned out so fabulous if she wasn't, right? But here's how this started. I was a very late bloomer. I didn't start until I was 16 years old, and I played sports my whole life. So even when I did start, it was very intermittent. And it's possible that because I played sports literally year round, even up and through high school, that's maybe why I didn't start until I was 16 years old. And that's very late, because most of my friends, I think, started around 12 years old. And so I had one particular instance where I was like keeled over in pain. And I was like, I can't go to school. This is debilitating. And this is the conversation my mother had with me. And I said conversation. I don't mean that. This is what she said to me. She said, do you think that the women on the Oregon Trail could take a day off? Do you think that there's any opportunity in life to just not show up? No. What they did was they shoved a rag up there and they just kept going. So that's what you're going to do. You're just going to keep going. And that was the last time I ever admitted to having very serious period pain. And now I have to say that I was extremely lucky as far as that goes. I really didn't experience that throughout my life. And I am thankful. I'm so thankful for that. I don't know if sports played a role in that, but that is what my mother said to me, because I'm sure that is what her mother said to her.
Right.
And there's no days off. You are a woman. Yeah. You have to show up. You got to do all of the things that a woman has to do. Yes, you bleed, you handle it, and you move on. It's just a part of life. We're not messing around with it. You're not special because you're bleeding. Like that's how it was handled in my house with my mother. And so, yes, I knew those people, but I couldn't be one of them.
Well, I was one of them. There was one of them. I had horrible periods. I've always had to take iron when I have my periods. I literally bleed so much that I am losing all of the iron in my body. I have extreme cramps. Some women suffer from migraines from their periods. My point is, periods are a spectrum, and I think most women acknowledge that they're somewhere on that spectrum. They say, okay, I have these, but there's people who have it worse. There's people who have it better. And I think that's something that we acknowledge as women. But I think what we're not talking about enough is the concept that menopause is also a spectrum. So you may be one of those, I have very light menopause. Oh, I get a little warm once in a while. I get this, and I get a little bit of that. But other than that, I'm fine. Okay. I, on the other hand, have to stay alive and not kill myself. Like, that's the point I'm at. I'm in extreme menopause. So when one of those people who has very light symptoms says, oh, menopause isn't that hard, you just have to be stronger, I want to fucking punch him in the face. And I mind less when it's the doctors that have been uneducated and stupid. I mind more when it's a female. And I think, you don't understand that our bodies are spectrums and we feel things differently. And you can't just say to me, if that works for you, that works for you. And I think we have to start.
Isn't that the problem in all of life? That's the problem in all of life. Yes. You do you, I'll be over here doing me, and we can hang out and like each other still. But that's a separate thing. I will tell you that over the course of the year, you mentioned headaches. I really didn't experience, like I said, regular, and I was on birth control for a majority of that time. And so I knew almost to the second hour, I'm like, oh, I know when I'm going to start. And life worked out really well that way. And that was necessary because I played volleyball through college. And so it was important that I knew when things were going to happen. And then obviously it's just more convenient when you know when things are going to happen, because you do have to live life. But over the course of the last year, I started developing menstrual migraines. I had never experienced that in the course of my menstruation over my life from 16 to 42, no problems. I had less than a handful, maybe 3 true migraines in my entire life. And if I really am thinking about it, they were all associated to menstruation, but these were different. These would be defined as menstrual migraines. And I shit you not, I was down for 2 days. We're talking about waking up vomiting. There's nothing in your body, dry heaving, headaches, pressure behind the eyes, can't work, can't talk, can't do anything. It's not the light sensitivity or the sound sensitivity. This is how I was experiencing it. but empty, nothing in me, and my body just trying to rid itself of things that didn't even exist. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I could keep nothing down. 2 days I would be down. Imagine that every month for a lifetime. Can you really
No.
I get pissed off at a little headache. I'm not really a take an ibuprofen kind of. I'm like, I'll just lay down and take a nap. This shit is debilitating. And I only know that it's because my body was going through so many changes. And the hope with me going back on the birth control is that we can regulate. Because what I learned was, and I'm going to side note this, if you don't take notes on yourself, start taking notes on yourself. Know who you are and what your body is doing and kind of the patterning of what that looks like. Because when you can go in and say, doctor, this happens on this date, and we start looking at calendars and we start putting patterns together, please be the expert on yourself and please trust yourself. I'm going to say that this whole time. But I knew that it was when my period started going funny in perimenopause, I would have a 32-day cycle. And then the times that I would get the menstrual migraine, it would be cut a week. I would have a 25-day, 26-day cycle. And your estrogen at that point is not slowly going down, releasing an egg. From the month before, which was 32 or maybe 33 days, to the next month where your estrogen is literally falling out of the sky, menstrual migraine. Those were my experiences. And so attempting to regulate that, because I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old who were 2 and 4. Coming in through this, right? You can't be out for 2 days. Their father's amazing. He can handle it, but I don't like it. And so take notes on yourself, understand what's happening with your own body, and find a doctor who believes you. And I hope we're going to talk more about hormones. I'm not quite there in my journey. I'm sure I have not hit peak crazy yet. I'm just at the start. Crazy.
I will tell you, there's a couple things with the hormones that I truly believe I should have been on testosterone my entire life. Really interesting because I never knew it was a female hormone. I really thought testosterone was only men. And I have now learned that and that thing levels me out. Also, side note, makes you a little horny. Love that part. Sex life's good.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I think it evens out some of my emotional things. And I feel like I would have loved to have had this when I was younger. But it was, are you kidding? Like, we're only now getting offered it at this point. Why aren't we checking hormone panels of people in general? Seems like a benefit to me.
Yes. Have you heard of a Dutch test?
I have not.
I only recently, this has come into my consciousness only recently, and that maybe like a functional medicine doctor, most primary cares aren't going to offer it. It's more than just a blood test. I'm very interested in it, and I think I'm going to save it for that time that I really feel like I'm completely mismanaged. Ultimately, it's my understanding, it's blood and urine, and it's over the course of weeks. And so it helps get a really big span of what is happening over the course of that time. And it enables doctors to narrow in on you specifically, what your cycle is doing. Because even after menopause, it doesn't mean that we don't still have a hormonal cycle. Like there still are hormones floating around, and there still is a daily regular cycle. And I think that there's this misconception that, oh, once you go through menopause, that's it. Then everything's back to normal and sunshine and rainbows. And that's, maybe I haven't been there yet. It's not necessarily the case. But Dutch test, I'm just going to say that out loud for anybody who goes, maybe I'm interested in that. To find somebody that can possibly do that for you. It just might give you a little more information, which can help direct you better. I love I think all information is good information.
There you go. I love that.
Yeah.
We have the list of the frustrations of women between the age of 45 and 55, which is actually not quite in your range, Jen, because you're actually a little younger than this.
Close enough.
Close enough, though, about menopause. And I want to talk about these frustrations. And I want to check in with Coach Jen and myself and see, are we feeling these things? So number one under frustration, hot flashes disrupting daily life. How you doing on the hot flashes, Coach Jen?
My hot flashes occur not so intensely in the day. They're manageable. And I only say that in regard to, I've sat very next to women who are experiencing fire. And I can't say, I can't say that I've been there yet. However, more recently, I did start with the night sweats. So I would wake up on occasion with just wet the back of my neck. I ended up getting new sheets. They're called Miracle Made. I love them. They're cooling. They have the silver in them, so they're antimicrobial. So I really enjoy those sheets. They're not paying me for a sponsorship. I just like them. And that has helped a lot because I get the pillowcases and the sheets. And so that has helped a lot. Now, also remember, I live in Hawaii and it is regularly humid and all of our doors and windows are open every night. You know, there's not a chill in the air. And so that is something else that we fight against is just the regular temperature. And then on occasion, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to wipe that upper lip. I should probably carry a tissue. That's what I'll be like. Oh, that's like a southern. Oh, look, I need a fan. How you doing with the hot flashes?
I don't actually have hot flashes or night sweats. I'm just fucking hot all the goddamn time. It's like my normal temperature has raised 15 freaking degrees. My poor husband is closest to the window at night. It was 42 degrees last night. He's like, oh my God, I have icicles on my nose. And I'm like, it's not fucking cold enough in here. So I just in general am hotter. You talk about the fans. I have all the fans. The fans are everywhere around the house. So I can just fan myself. I've just heated up by like 10 to 15 degrees. I've heard about the women with the night sweats and I'm like, oh, like to change the sheets, like all over. I'm not having that experience.
Oh, I'm not needing to change seats, but yeah, I believe it. You know, if we're talking about a spectrum, everybody experiences it differently. Absolutely.
And you never know, they might be a coming, but at this point.
I'd like to just point out very quickly, Coach Nicole, that when we're talking about the things that are on the list, because, you know, these are the general things that we know that women of a certain age are experiencing. If that's not you and it's something else, that's okay. You're not abnormal for not experiencing the things that we're talking about. You're very normal because there's a spectrum and there's 70 plus things. And my right inner ear gets itchy. This is new. Just inner ear, my right one. I can't stick Q-tips in there enough. It's not working. It's just itchy. What the fuck? Like what? I'm sitting there like all day long just with that. That's one of my weird symptoms. And you're like, that's not yes, it is, because it never occurred in my life up until this point. So there you go. Whatever you're going through, it's normal. That's all I'm saying.
There's gonna be things on here I'm gonna be like, nope, don't have that, but got weird stuff going on otherwise. So you never know. Coach Jen, mood swings affecting relationships.
Okay, here's what's really important. As your body is changing, as it's going into perimenopause, we are knowing now that this can start in women as early as around age 35. So I want to make sure, like Coach Nicole is 53. I'm 43. As early as 35 years old, women can start experiencing this. Bear that in mind. Okay, that being said, I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. How do you think my moods are regularly with lack of sleep? You and I are very passionate people. I can't honestly say that my moods have been impacted. And now I'm an odd duck in that I had bipolar. So when we talk about moods and the separation of moods, I'm very sensitive to that. And so I cannot say that I have wild mood swings. I cannot say that I'm smiling one second and screaming the next because of hormones. I am because of children, but I do not think that it's because of hormones. So that's where I'm at on the spectrum. But I am very weird because of the previous bipolar experience. That's my caveat.
And I've already told you guys my running away and throwing the burrito story. So yes, the mood swings are huge. I want to bring up a point talking about relationships. My husband once said to me, can you give me information on menopause? And I go, Google it, figure it out on your own. I am not your resource. You live with me. You love me. You need to understand what I'm going through. And he dove in like nobody's business. And he's got the info. And I love that he did that.
Tim is a very special man in that regard, because something that I'd like to point out is that if you look at the average age of divorce, I'm going to say that it's folks who've been married for 7 to 10 years. And the women are starting to experience perimenopause. And these men who choose not to do what Tim did and just look at her as though she's fucking crazy. It's all her. I blame her. She was normal before. She's not anymore. this is not the person I married, and they decide not to look any further or care enough to have the conversation or allow the vulnerability, that's when we're seeing a lot of divorces too. So thank you, Tim. You're a very special man. And I wish more husbands took it upon themselves to understand more about the person that they choose to share their life with. That's just a general statement that I have.
It is really important, and it has made all the difference. When I go see my doctor and I have to say all the things I'm taking, my husband's the one who knows all the things I'm taking. I don't even remember them all. He's got the list of vitamins in his phone and all this stuff, and he's become a part of this, and that helps me feel like he's my support system and not just something else I have to manage through this mess. It has made all the difference.
That's amazing.
And he did that. He said, you know what? You're right. I should be looking this stuff up on my own. I should be figuring this out. Mind you, this is a man who tracked my periods the entire time we've been together for 30 years. That was actually so he could warn my kids when mom's going to have a little PMS and might be a little nutty. So smart though, because I'd look at him and go,
so smart.
I'm really bitchy. Am I going to start my period? And he's like, yeah, in like a day or two. Like, okay, thank you, honey. You're my resource.
Oh my God. So when Jen says take notes on yourself, that's what I'm talking about. Have somebody take notes on you.
It is helpful. Next, frustration, sleep disturbances, and insomnia. Anything there, Coach Jen?
Yes, but again, maybe only because I have young children and not because of perimenopause. I have noticed that even though I'm very tired at night, I have difficulty kind of shutting down. I don't know that I can give that to perimenopause. I think I can give that to being a woman, a mother, a business owner, having to deal with people regularly, replaying if I, in fact, practice the 4 agreements that day on that particular situation. I think that might be the thing. The only thing that wakes me up is my 3-year-old in the middle of the night when he decides he doesn't want to sleep in his bed anymore. So yes, sleep disturbances, but I don't think it's because of perimenopause yet. That's where we're at. Lack of sleep significantly, yeah. How about you?
I don't have little ones in the home, so I definitely don't have that. I would say I don't think any extra sleep disturbances or insomnia for me personally. Thank goodness. I got enough other stuff going on. The next one, though, this is a fun one, Coach Jen. Vaginal dryness. Oh,
so what do we wish people taught in school? Okay, what is it? 3rd, 4th grade, you go through sex ed and you go through these are the girl parts and these are the boy parts, and that's what that looks like. And I don't remember much else. And I actually don't remember going through that in school. And I don't remember anybody teaching about periods. And I don't remember anybody saying, as a normal functioning woman, your cycle is going to look like this. When you're ovulating, you're going to be dripping wet. It's not because your man turns you on that much. It's natural. If he didn't exist, that's the way it would be anyway in that ovulation time frame. And we naturally, as women in our cycles, are going to be more dry coming out of your period and going into your period. And I am not a doctor. I am a woman who experiences life and talks to other women. And so this is a natural part of a cycle. And my understanding is that as we're not ovulating anymore, that time frame no longer is it's the cervical fluid that would be moving through. That's not happening anymore. So no, not yet, because I still have very regular periods, especially now that I'm back on birth control. But there is the necessity for lube at the end of and the beginning of, just because it's more evident, I would say, at this point in my cycle.
I don't actually have this problem. I have another problem. But before I talk about that, I want to go back to something Coach Jen said. So sex ed definitely doesn't explain to you about your periods or being a woman at all. I remember the first period I had, my aunt was helping me, and it was the first time I'd ever used a tampon. We went to the bathroom together, and I was in the stall next to her, and I said, I need a tampon. She's like, why? And I said, I took it out. And she's like, was it full? And I said, no, but I had to pee. And she goes, that's a different hole. And I went, what? Yeah. Like, I didn't know that. Nobody taught me that. Like, that wasn't a thing. I didn't know. So many things we are not aware of. I do not actually have vaginal dryness internally, but like you have the itch in your ear, I freaking have an external itch. I gotta tell you guys, of all the fucking perimenopause symptoms, this is my least favorite, because let me tell you something. When you scratch your privates in public, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Do you have crotch
That's such a man thing.
Like, I'm like, don't scratch in public. And now I'm sitting here going, fuck, I got this freaking little itch. Only on one side, only in one spot. It has been there for months. And by the way, try and Google vaginal itch externally. You ain't gonna find anything. It's all internal. I don't know what the hell.
They're gonna make you think you got all kinds of diseases, right?
I'm telling you. And no, I don't have crabs or any shit like that. But when it started, I was like, wait, what? Nope, none of that stuff.
Yeah, because it has to become a pattern for us to recognize it as a symptom. Because initially the ear, it's like, oh, okay, that's weird. But over and over and over. And the note that I haven't taken is, at what point in the month am I experiencing this? And is this attached to anything? So that's the next note that I actually would like to take. But, you know, I'd like to pause for a moment and recognize that we're learning a lot about each other today. And our listeners are learning probably more than anybody really needed to know about us individually. Probably. And Coach Nicole and I are very much in agreement here in that people learn from stories. And the only way that we think that we can help you feel the best you can be is to help you understand that you are not alone in anything that you're experiencing. And so we can give you our personal stories because we're not embarrassed by any of it. And we hope that you can take something from it, or at least gain the courage to have a conversation with somebody in order to help you move toward feeling good. And so I just wanted to say that out loud, which is why we're getting into all this fun stuff.
First of all, I'm not shy. Like, I pretty much will share everything. But the reality is, Coach Jen, if there's one person out there who goes, I have that too, that's perimenopause. Yeah. I just help someone and I'm good with that. And you're right. It has to keep showing up. Initially, I was like, oh, I cut myself shaving. Oh, I cut myself shaving again in the same exact spot. No, I did not. What the fuck? Yeah. Okay, we have an issue. And by the way, eczema cream works fantastic. So I have a new ritual. It keeps it in control. All right, moving on from my vaginal dryness. Lack of understanding from peers and family.
You know, I'm not the best one to talk about this because of my past mental illness. Lack of understanding from peers. I have to say that I feel extremely blessed in my life, and that I have chosen, or have been chosen, to be a part of a tribe that does not stigmatize anything that any one of us need to talk about. You and I are very openly having these conversations. We do not judge what any of that looks like. We take each other's experience as, that's your experience and I believe you, and how do we help you be as great as you can be? And that is the tribe that I find myself in. So I feel very comfortable having any and all conversations with specific people in my tribe that nothing is not spoken of. I also feel very blessed that I have a mother that I can ask questions to and take things to. And I would say that familial is probably more on what you're talking about, just because there's a 30-year age difference. I'm 43 with young children. My mother's 73, my father's 75. And so there's definitely a limiting belief type of thing, or that's not been my experience, and they process things differently. I do have to say that no, as far as my friend group goes, nothing is off limits, and I feel safe and secure in my experience with them.
Nice. That's fantastic. I also actually have a really fantastic family group, and I love that. I already expressed a little bit of concern around some other females and the fact that they're not understanding this can be a spectrum, and we just need to acknowledge everybody's experience. So moving on, next one, changes in libido. Coach Jen, I already told you testosterone's making me horny. I'm probably on the opposite end. So what do we got for you?
I've heard that. I am not on testosterone. You know, my experience, and I can't say that it's natural, I can only tell you that it's mine, is that exhaustion is a legit thing. And especially when you're going through these changes in, for me, the start of perimenopause with a 2 and a 4-year-old, the combination just makes me want to just run away to a cave and go to sleep for a week. That's just, so do I want you to touch me? I don't. And now it's better now than it was over the course of the year, because there were significant changes happening. You've heard me talk before about, we received my stepson into our house. that was the time that I was starting perimenopause. We know that estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone all work together, and your cortisol is also affected, which is your stress hormone. And so right at the time that my body was experiencing the mess that is those four friends, my cortisol was through the roof. And then I received an extra human in my house, plus having a 2 and a 4-year-old. I think I cried for a year. And so do I want to be touched then? No. Am I trying to figure out all of who I am and what is happening in my life? Yes. And that's confusing, especially because I enjoy that part of life. Right? Like that's a very important part of life in our relationship. And so me trying to understand what that was about, and in my low moments, just going, oh, maybe that's not of interest to me anymore. With my brain going, no, it is. It really is. But my body going, maybe I'm just not anymore. Maybe, and it did cause tension. And I can thankfully say after a year that, we've kind of worked through that. The cortisol's figuring itself out, and regular sleep and understanding of the way a family functions, we're getting better.
Nice.
It was tough.
I can imagine. All right. Difficulty concentrating or memory issues?
Every day. I'll be in the middle of a sentence that I really wanted to make a point in and be like, what was I talking about? And I'll look at the person, I consider myself fairly intelligent. I'll look at the person just doe-eyed, like, this is where I end. I couldn't tell you where I was going with this. And you feel like such a dipshit. And I know that happens in pregnancy. I know that it happens in the transition into motherhood because your brain starts focusing on different things. And so I've experienced that later in life. I was 38 with my first, 40 with my second. Now I have a 3 and a 5. I thought that because I was a later mother, I would be pushed back in my experiences, but turns out I'm not. Nope. My body did not care that I only gave birth 3 years ago. And so I thought that my brain fog, that my lack of clarity was kind of an extension of being a mother to young children. But I can tell you that there was a time there where I did feel like a little more of my quote normal self. And upon entering perimenopause, it went away again. So more specifically, like the brain fog, the lack of clarity. I'm usually a very quick individual. I process things quickly, quick-witted, and I found myself being much slower in those things. But to note, I can tell you that I started taking functional mushrooms, and that has been life-changing for me. So the lion's mane and the reishi at night, really, really significant difference. I take mushrooms in my coffee in the morning. That brand is called Alchemy. I love it. I could tell a difference in the first 3 days. And so those are things that have helped specifically with these symptoms.
Yeah, I do the layered mushrooms. I also do the MCT oil, which I think really helps with cognition. I was not having issues with this. And then suddenly I couldn't remember things like, those things that cut. Fucking scissors forgot. My husband's like,
scissors. Yeah.
Scissors. And I'm like, oh shit. But here's the problem. I've lived my whole life with my knowledge, my wisdom, and my intelligence being a large portion of who I am. And here I am with it just literally going out the window. And I'm like, WTF, Nicole's not Nicole anymore. And I hate it. I think that is the most frustrating. I would say the mood swings are the things that are a safety issue for me, but the memory loss and the not being able to grasp certain words has been the most difficult thing for me because it's literally so much a part of who I am. And I've had a really hard time with this thing. Yeah, it sucks.
I hear you.
Not loving it.
I thought, I'm not smart anymore. Like, how did that happen? I said, did my kids make me dumb? No. Being a woman in my 40s made me dumb. Yep. What? And obviously, we're not dumb, but yeah, the lack of sharpness, which I've relied on so much in my life. So I hear you on that. I definitely recognize that.
Yeah. Perimenopause made us dipshits. What the hell? I don't like dumb people. Sorry. I don't like people who are dumb. Now, if you're uninformed, that's okay. But once you are
That's
informed
different.
and you still act stupid, I'm like, nope, no, not interested. All right, we'll move on to physical symptoms affecting self-esteem. Well, I think I just explained that. So, but also I think this has to do with symptoms of like how you look and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I can comment on that. In less than a year from the time that and we mark times in our lives by occasion. So the occasion that I'm marking is entering perimenopause while at the same time receiving a 9-year-old stepson into my life. So stress was already high. Um, we're in fight or flight regularly, because that's when you don't get to rest and digest, when your sleep is interrupted, when you're just naturally in a state of stress regularly. And so what I found in the course of less than a year, I became pre-diabetic. And that was because my body stopped using the insulin. And that's what they talk about, the menopausal middle, the weight gain during perimenopause and menopause, because your body stops functioning the way that it did for so long. And I developed insulin resistance. And in such a short time, I became pre-diabetic. And it was because all of those factors came together right at the same time and created this environment for my body to kind of shut down. So my pancreas wasn't functioning properly, pre-diabetic in less than a year. And I was holding on to an extra 30 pounds that I just could not get rid of. Being an athlete my entire life, this was very abnormal for my experience. I could not get rid of this extra 30 pounds. And it wasn't 10. It wasn't like, oh, I'm having a hard time dropping that last 10. It was like, it was not good fat. It was all over me, and it made me feel yucky. I didn't feel like myself. It made me not act like myself. It made me feel not sexy. It made me feel not desirable. I didn't want to be touched, because why would you want to touch me? I'm disgusting. Like all of these things creeping in. And it had to do with not necessarily the extra 30 pounds, just that I wasn't looking and feeling the way that I was used to, the way that for 38 years, I had this body. And then I got pregnant and I was like, what? Where did that go? Right. I was accustomed to some things. And so it was a very strange time for me until I understood what was happening with my body, until we were able to bring that cortisol down, understand that I had insulin resistance and that we needed to make some significant changes in order for that to happen. And I currently am in that right now. I'm currently working on losing that weight, and some of it's coming off. And so it makes you feel a little bit good. But there was a reason for it, I think, is my point. And yes, to speak to that, I felt all of it. I felt gross, just gross.
That's tough to be insulin resistant at your age. That's difficult for sure. Are you familiar, Coach Jen, with a DEXA scan, DEXA?
No.
Okay, so DEXA scan, I haven't done one yet. I really want to do this. DEXA scan scans your internal organs and the fat around your organs, because that's the most dangerous fat. And it gives you your body fat, but it also tells you how much of the fat is around your organs. I think that would be so interesting to know. I want to get one of those.
Yeah.
Because
I love stuff like that. I want to know everything. I want a brain scan. I want all of my stuff scanned.
We should just go to that hospital in Turkey that like does all the tests of all the things of everything and is really inexpensive.
I'm in.
All right. One of the frustrations is uncertainty about the duration of symptoms. I think you and I are kind of aware, although it's interesting because I think the symptoms don't necessarily abate once we hit menopause, which is generally, from what I've heard, defined as 12 months, no period. Then you've hit that point of menopause and then you're past it. Do the symptoms continue? What do we know? Like, are they going to continue? Are they going to continue as extreme?
You know, I think that that's a general human fear, in that when we experience discomfort, we fear that we will from now on experience discomfort. And I think that, you know, outside of menopause and perimenopause and whatever symptoms anybody's experiencing, I think that's a very human thing to have fear that, oh no, I'm going to have to learn a new way of life to move forward with these things. And so I think that that's legitimate. I think that in our uncomfort, we go, oh my God, am I going to have to do this forever? Because, and I know people with chronic pain who have lived tens and tens of like years just in pain and discomfort. And I can only imagine how awful that is. And so to think that, oh my gosh, I'm going to sweat in my sleep every day for the rest of my life. Yeah, I'd be afraid of that too. Or, oh my gosh, I'm going to bite my kid's head off every day for the rest of their lives. That does not set up for a good relationship. I would be fearful of that. So I absolutely understand that thought, that fear-based thought. So I think that's normal. I think that as a coach, we can help you understand that most things are temporary. That yes, just like feelings, we experience these things and it is what it is now. And perhaps the next moment it won't be. And so we can really only alleviate the anxiety by future thinking, by being in the present now. Okay, right now, this is what it is. I'm going to take the next moment for what that is. And I can only be here in the present. And if for whatever reason you do end up having symptoms that last longer, you deal with it. You figure it out. You seek help. You try to understand. You have conversations about it. So just managing the fear, I think, would be a better way to go about it. And I absolutely understand it because nobody wants to think that they're going to live in discomfort forever.
Agreed. Absolutely. I would say that my uncertainty about the duration of symptoms was 6 to 9 months ago was extreme. I was very concerned that there was no way I was going to survive this, that there was no way I was going to be able to go through these feelings for the next even 2 years. You talk about women who get divorced or suicidal ideations. I mean, it's very extreme in these scenarios. And I love my husband, and I'm one of the lucky ones with an amazing, amazing man. And yet I could have seen how this could have gone the other way. And that's terrifying to me. So knowing now that I'm good with the way I feel and I'm good with what I'm on. And that's why it always surprises me when someone say, oh, you should do it without hormones. You're stronger than that. And I'm like, you have no idea. You don't know my experience.
That makes me twitch.
Yeah.
I, as a person who have experienced just life, believe that medication is there for a reason, that if it serves you and you take it appropriately, then fuck everyone who's judging you for the way that you choose to create a better life for yourself. I don't know that all medications are meant to be on for long term. And I don't know that hormones are either. We're not on them our whole lives. Our body's doing what we're doing. But as we're losing them, wouldn't it be a natural thing to then replace them?
Yeah. If we can.
It seems pretty evident that if you lose something that helped you function, you put it back and it helps you function again. Who can judge that? Like, fuck off, honestly. Like, don't come to me and tell me that I'm stronger than what? That I'm stronger than what? Because I really want to dive into that person's issues. Like, oh, do you need that 18 glasses of wine every night? You're stronger than that. You're stronger than those feelings. Don't go there with me because I will. And like you said at the top of the show, let people have their experience. It's really none of your business. Support or shut the fuck up. Like, that's it.
I like that. Support or shut the fuck up. We'll definitely go with that. Yeah. I mean, I am always if I can find a resource that is not a drug, or if I can find the food that can help, I will absolutely go that way. But I always say I'm a mix of Eastern and Western medicine, and I think they both have their places. And I definitely am good on that.
I recently have found, because you mentioned food, and I'm a big believer in let thy food be thy medicine. My mom used to say, shit in, shit out. If you put shit in you, you're going to get fatigued, tired, you're going to feel shitty. So when you put good things inside of you, you feel better. It's just a very natural thing. Oh, I feel good when I eat this. I don't feel good when I eat this. I started maybe about 6 months ago. I got this book, Dr. Mindy Pelz. She works with perimenopausal and menopausal women, and she works with intermittent fasting. So she wrote the book Fast Like a Girl, and her entire premise and all of the studies that she does talks about how when you work with your cycle and you eat according to where you are in that cycle, or intermittent fast according to your cycle, it raises the benefits of the food that you put in you and how your body processes these things. I have found a lot of success with learning how to eat better and learning how to work with my cycle and the intermittent fasting, because that's all of her research. Everything she does goes to perimenopausal and menopausal women and teaching them how to work with their cycle and the food that they're eating and the time frame that they're eating in. So I just wanted to say that too. That's been a great resource for me.
Nice. And I would say we absolutely, during perimenopause, it's more important that we eat more quality food, healthy proteins, fats. You have got to eat the healthy fats, fiber rich, and you are
Yes.
probably not eating enough protein. And it's kind of crazy how much protein we need.
So much
yeah,
all day long.
it's insane. The very last thing was navigating medical advice and treatment. And I feel like we have really hit on that. So let's wrap it up, Coach Jen, with our takeaways.
Oh my gosh, so many. So takeaways, just like in third or fourth grade where they went through sex ed, I think that a mandatory version in like high school would be, this is what will happen in the next 20 years. And to put both men and women through that class, just like they do in third and fourth grade, and help you understand what that looks like and how it could possibly go, just for the case of awareness. So I think that my takeaway is that we as humans have a disservice in our school. And if we parents are going to assume that schools are going to educate our kids, schools need to be doing different things about that education, because this is real life stuff. When we're talking about relationships and what's happening inside of you and how what's happening inside of you affects those relationships, it matters. It matters so much. And so that's my biggest takeaway is seek out the information. If you feel like you don't have enough of it, open the conversation, talk to people you trust, believe yourself, and find the doctors that believe you and are willing to help you figure out what's going on. So that's my takeaway.
Well put. I really like that. Just the fact that we can have this conversation right now, that we are in a world where this conversation has become more the norm than the exception, and the fact that things are moving in the direction that they are. And I want to say to you, younger generation of females, I think the majority of you will never put up with the shit that we have put up with as far as being ignored, and power to you, because you're going to make a huge difference as you move forward. And this will not happen to you. We will know what the hell's going on with your body. And
yes, thank gosh.
And this is a transition. It's just a transition.
Yes.
And my grandmother lived into her 90s. I plan on doing the same. I have 40 years of life left. This is my midlife moment, and I already have the convertible. So there you go.
Yeah. And don't let age dictate what that looks like. We know as early as 35-ish, and Coach Nicole's 53, as late as 53-ish for the whole perimenopausal experience. That's a big age range there. Understand who you are and what is, quote, normal for you, and anything outside of that, seek knowledge, seek help.
and if you know you're having irregular periods and anything weird is happening in your world, like anything mentally, physically, emotionally, it might be perimenopause.
Probably is.
Yeah.
Just probably is. That's the answer.
Let's go into our final questions, Coach Jen. Do you want to start?
Okay, I'll ask. You ready?
Okay, I think so.
What's the most amazing natural occurrence you've witnessed?
Most amazing natural occurrence I've witnessed. I'm always fascinated by, and I probably always will be fascinated by, lightning and thunderstorms. Living in Arizona, we get to experience and witness some of the most beautiful lightning storms. And I'm fascinated by it. By the way, if anybody's interested in learning about lightning, you think lightning comes down from the clouds, but it's actually coming up from the earth. Weird stuff. Go watch Neil deGrasse Tyson. He explains lightning. So fascinating. I love lightning.
Okay. Didn't know that. Learned something new.
Always be a thing for me. I love it. So
cool.
Good question. I like
All
that.
right.
So my question for you, Coach Jen, this was a little heavy, but I'm going to ask it.
Oh boy.
How exactly would you like to die?
Oh Lord. How exactly? I would like to be asleep in my bed uninterrupted and not wake up. That's how. Really, if I'm on my deathbed, put me in my bed, close the door. That's exactly. No, I'm sure it could get more. That's tough, because would I want to have the conversations with my family? Would I want to go through? I don't know. I don't know the answer. But if I had to choose, I think one of the worst ways to die would be like fired. If my whole body was on fire, or drowning would be awful. But really the most peaceful, easy way sounds to me like I just go to sleep and never wake up. And that is ideal for me. That, or just like a natural occurrence that I'm just like, that I don't suffer any which way, and that I don't suffer, but not that like a head-on car accident where I have to see it coming. I don't want to see it coming. I'm not into it. I just want to die of natural causes in my sleep and have every gut Betty go, oh, that's exactly what she wanted. And it was so peaceful and she didn't suffer and I don't have to worry. That's easy. That was an easy answer.
I like that. Awesome. We want to thank you all for joining us. And this was fun.
Thank you.
So until next time, Coach Jen.
You're the best. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Write your lines with passion, let your spirit freely roam. The lessons of your journey will lead you